No. You don't. You go back to console. That's like the second part. That's after the storyline. And by the way, that was probably one of the most abysmal storylines of all time. Welcome back, everybody. Beers and Boss Battles. Rob and Troy back at it again. Real quick, before we talk about anything, we just want to say, if you haven't done it already, please go down there, hit that sub button for any of the content we have coming out and more stuff just like this. We're going to start this off the right way. As per usual, we're going to get into what we're drinking. So, Rob, what are you drinking?
Today I'm drinking some Mojo pure coconut water. No, that's not what I'm drinking. This is what I would be drinking if I was hungover. Maybe or before I go to sleep after a nice night of drinking, you want to buy some of this to get some electrolytes and hydrate. No, I'm actually drinking what I was drinking in the last episode, Centennial. Why do I keep pronouncing it wrong? Centennial IPA. I keep saying Centennial. I don't know why I'm adding that in, but it's just that Founders Centennial IPA. It's a good beer. I still got some of them left. I had a long weekend and I wasn't really home, and I did not buy any more beers, so I still have this.
I also didn't mention, though, if another thing, going along with the whole, if you haven't done it sub thing, please, if you haven't done this one already, go follow us at both of our streaming channels. I'm going to leave both of those links right here below in the bio, but I'm also going to have them in the video right beneath both of us. Yep, right down there for both of us. Also, I am drinking this Goose Island IPA. So I was actually, I'll get into this, but I was drinking before this. I was drinking, what is it called? It's called Yes Farms, Yes Beer. And that's made by Industrial Arts. That's the same company that made that low-cal beer that I was having. They're the ones that make power tools. They're a really good company. And I've always liked their stuff. This one in particular, I probably like the most out of all, like their selection. And it's not something that Beer Noggin usually gets like on a regular basis by any means, but it's a 100% New York sourced beer. So I touched on it a little bit, and I said, I'm into that. I think that's just kind of a cool sentiment to having the beer.
That is cool, yeah.
So
that means like literally like pretty much
everything.
All the ingredients. That's
everything.
That's super cool, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why it's even better. So the beer itself is already good, but that just makes it better. It's a hazy, I think it's a 6% ALC by volume. It's, I don't know. I mean, I've said it. I'm into hazy like IPAs and that kind of thing, but that one in particular is really good. And then having, like I said, that sentiment of just knowing that it's out of your backyard. That's a seller for me.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. What, you just recently figured that out?
Well, funny thing, one of the times that I came up to visit you, I brought it with me. I don't know if maybe you were just too drunk to remember, but
doesn't sound like me.
No, you're right. But okay. Anyways, I don't know if you remember, but I brought it up one of those days that I think it was actually the one and only time I've ever actually been up to your house.
Yeah, we got to do something about that. I mean, everything with the coronavirus going on, but we'll get you back up here.
But yeah, one of the times that I came up to see you, or the only time I came to see you, I brought I think it was I had two. I had brought up 8 beers, and I remember that specifically. I bought 2 4-packs, and I told the guy, this dude Brendan, one of the owners, I was like, look, man, I'm going to take a trip up. Do you have? I kind of want to just have a wide variety. I don't care if it's lagers, IPAs, pilsners. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever you think is going to be good. Just something like a sample pack, essentially. So I gotten 2 of those in that mix, and those 2 beers, I remember I went out of my way to try one of them, and I was like, wow, this is really good. But like I said, it's not a regular pickup for them, so it kind of fell to the wayside. Yeah. I hadn't had it in however long, and I just got it again today. And the only reason I'm not drinking that right now is because I was like, I'd already had 1 or 2, and I was like, maybe going into, I don't want to get 2.
Yeah, savor them a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't drink all the great beers all at once.
No, you got to kind of work your way out. But I didn't bother.
Goose Island is good, dude. Most of the beers are good.
No. They are actually a really good company, especially for a company that you find pretty frequently.
Yeah.
But this one is hoppy and grapefruity, refreshing.
Know what? That would be cool to hear from. So down in the comments, are there any of the beers that we talk about that they don't have in your area? That would be kind of cool to hear about, because maybe we take for granted, like Founders, Saranac, different companies. Like Saranac, I think, is a New York beer, so maybe you can't even get it depending on if you're like West Coast or maybe too far south. I think you could probably get it in the Northeast, but it'd be kind of cool to hear about like any of these beers. Like, are you guys not even able to get these beers? That'd be kind of cool to hear about. And then obviously maybe beers that you have in your area that you love, and maybe we can't get them and we can be jealous and upset that we can't get them.
And maybe we'll make a point to try to get them.
Custom order them, maybe.
Yeah, we'll have them sent out.
Yeah.
So we don't actually have any topics for today's video. It's really more or less, we kind of want to just go into this raw and just whatever. Like, we'll just see where it goes. I mean, I had a couple things that I kind of wanted to get into regarding some of the stream setups that I've or the process of getting my stream set up the way I want it to be. I know Rob was talking a little bit to me about it before the video started, that he'd been wanting to play Minecraft Dungeons. So we have a couple different things there, but more or less, this is going to be kind of a free range episode. So prepare yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Probably a little bit all over the place. Yeah, we don't have as much prepared as normal, but we figured it's been a while since we did one, so let's just do one,
Yeah. So. And then, but I think important to say, I know you feel the same way. We just, on behalf of both of us, we kind of wanted to address what's happening. It's a weird time in America's history. I'd say the world's history as a whole. I mean, there's just, between the virus coming out and then everybody being in this quarantine and then, people losing jobs and the economy going down. There's a lot going on. And then now with the George Floyd thing, that only adds more. And we both are devastated by it. We're not happy about how things went down, of course. So our condolences to his family. Our hearts go out there for sure. But we try to treat this as more of a neutral zone. We don't try to fall to either side on, the views and stuff. We try to treat this as more of a neutral zone for everybody, so that if you are the kind of person that's listening enough to the news or just has that around you, I know it can get a little overwhelming. And so we kind of want to have this as a space for people to come out and just escape the noise and have something fun to talk about. So
we want it to be, this can be a place you come to get away from everything else going on in the world. Talk about beer, talk about fun stuff, games, a place to get away from all of that. So, definitely condolences go out to George Floyd's family. And I mean, we all know there are some bad cops in the world. With that said, I would love to say that there are lots of great cops there. I don't want to get political. I don't want to go too far one side, but I do want to say that, our thoughts go out to George Floyd's family. And these are tough times. And hopefully, this is a place you can come where you can kind of forget about all that stuff. So we're not going to spend a ton of time talking about it. But hopefully just in the future too, we want this to be a place where you can kind of escape all that stuff. And this could be a place where you come and think about just games and fun stuff. So we just wanted to kind of acknowledge that.
But just address it in the same way, because it's something, it's more than anything else, it's become a world, in a way, a phenomenon. Like, this is really outreach just, the nation. It's really gone so much further. And I think people are, within their own rights to express themselves, upset and in a weird place. And I think, even prior to this, there was a lot of that too. So we try to focus that much more on creating this medium for everybody else to come to and just put their mind somewhere else. Put their mind at ease, relax, crack a beer.
Because even for ourselves, like me and Troy were just talking about it. I mean, this is all of the stuff going on in the world. It weighs on you, man. It can drag you down. And it's important stuff. You got to think about it. You got to be aware of what's going on around you. I'm not saying don't be engaged, don't be involved, don't ever think about it. But what I'm saying is that we don't want this to be a place where you come and now you're bombarded by it again. So just going forward, and even with what's going on in the world right now, you know, we kind of just wanted to acknowledge what's going on, but at the same time, we want everybody to know that we want to be the place you can come and kind of forget about all the stuff, that the chaos that's going on in the world, and maybe just forget about it for a few minutes, listen to people talk about video games and beer, and, you know, have a good time. So,
yeah. Well, speaking of having a good time, I'm having an especially good time because I was, as I was talking about earlier, with the stream setup, trying to get things squared away. For a very long time, I dabbled in streaming. So and I'd always, my entire life, which is why it's such a great experience to have something like this where me and you and everybody else watching and listening can come and just kind of have a conversation about something so huge in their lives. I mean, I know for myself and for you, definitely it's been, games have made a huge impact on our upbringing and everything. So with that being said, I really spent so much of my life playing games. And when, at a certain point, I would say probably like, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I kind of, was introduced to streaming. I mean, I heard about it, but people around me started to stream, and I was kind of just like, oh, this is cool. And so I was interested in it for sure. I just never had really taken it seriously. And because for a very long time also too, I was more enthused with music and trying to do things with that. And so I never really got myself too committed to, creating a good setup to stream, a good environment, really taking the measures to, whether it's the hardware or just, reconfiguring your setup in your room. I'd never done that. So recently I really took the initiative to get out there, to get what I thought I needed to at least cover the basics, I've done a good, I think I've done a good job at, like, I've set the bar a little bit higher for myself. I got my logo made a couple months back. I had gotten like an intro made for the videos. It has been small steps for me, but I think now I'm really at that jump off. So I've been, like I said, I've been trying really hard to acquire everything. And so over the weekend, I ended up spending quite a bit of money. I got myself a desktop PC, and a keyboard, a mouse, and a monitor, because I had already had a monitor. With the way I was streaming, I was using my Mac to stream off of, actually, and it was not bad. It wasn't, by no means, it could have been better, and it wasn't equipped to handle the kind of workload I was trying to put on it. So, I knew at that, and this was months ago now, I had kind of realized that, and when I did, I was like, okay, well, if I do want to make any more type of commitment to this, I'll invest. I have to. I'll have to invest in just a better setup. Yeah. So, good thing with COVID. Shout out to COVID. I was able to actually work a lot more than I've ever worked. So, that actually was a window for me, and to kind of just save up a little bit, put something aside to make this not as overwhelming as it could have been. So, anyways, and I got in the PC, I got in the monitor and all this stuff. And cool thing is I was supposed to have received the monitor the PC and the keyboard with the mouse. I was supposed to get that today, and I'd actually gotten like a message through my email. I was saying that like UPS was going to ship it faster, so I ended up getting the PC, the keyboard, and the mouse yesterday. And then I was supposed to have received the monitor Friday, but now I got another message today, and that was telling me that the monitor is actually going to come in tomorrow. So currently I'm not. It's awesome. Currently I'm not streaming, just because I want to wait till I have everything.
Get that set up.
Yeah, and like I said, just reconfigure and set things up. But it's been dope. I'm actually really looking forward to it. And I got like what I think is pretty decent equipment for the time being. So in the future, hopefully, you just make improvements, but at least it's a good feeling to kind of get the ball rolling.
Well, I know you've been, taking it pretty seriously. I'm not going to say you're streaming every day, but you're streaming pretty regularly. And like, I think based on what you've been telling me, you have been getting more people popping in there, which is cool. You've been doing the Jak and Daxter series. You're already in Jak 2, right?
Yeah. So,
how far into Jak 2, and how's that whole thing going?
Well, okay, so I finished Jak and Daxter relatively quick. I think in total playtime, I probably banked 10 or 11 hours, and I was able to like full steam ahead. Granted, I wasn't really like taking my time to explore. I think a lot of it was just memory for me, so I just got into it and was able to.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, as long as you're having a good time, that's kind of all that matters.
Yeah, yeah. So it was really fun too because I didn't have to spend so much time, like you said. I mean, it was fun. It didn't feel like at any point it was dragging on or there was like something impossible to accomplish. It was just very linear, start to finish, and I had a good time through it all. So I was able to finish that really quickly, and then I had actually I think I want to say last week I started Jak 2, and then I got, I don't know, maybe like 10% into the game, maybe if that. I didn't go like too hard with it. I completed like um, enough missions to get myself the first 2 weapons. So, and obviously that's pretty. Um,
you can upgrade them too, from what I remember, right? You can upgrade these weapons, or you just get new ones.
I'm not sure. I feel like that might have been a mechanic in Jak 3. But I don't know about Jak 2. I'm not really 100% sure. I haven't like.
I guess you'll see as you get a little deeper, right?
Yeah, but here's a cool thing. So I got into Jak 2 a little bit, and I'm still going through it. Not to say like I'm taking a break from it or anything, but I'd actually another series that, well, it's different. But another series that I wanted to replay or just really get into was Kingdom Hearts, because I had never all of my friends have played Kingdom Hearts. I've touched Kingdom Hearts. Like I've picked up the controller and played like the tiniest bit of the beginning, but I've never really gotten much further than that. Never actually bought the game, and I can't tell you how many people, anybody watching this who knows what that is, knows how big of a following it has. It's been a phenomenal game, and I'd always wanted to play it, so I downloaded it and I got this. It was cool. It was like a bundle, so I got the first game in like an HD remake with like included features like bonus stuff. I got Chain of Memories, which was the installment they made for the GBA. And then I got like the second game, same thing, HD remake with like a couple additional things. And then maybe like 2 other things as well. And it cost me a total of $100. And I was able to get all 6 of those games or 7 of those games, whatever it was. So that's really cool, and I had a lot of fun. I got into it, and dude, it's been a blast.
So you've been playing? So yeah, I've been kind of like offline, I guess you could call it, for the last like 4 days. Yeah, I haven't been playing video games. I've been on, I've been on the internet a little bit, but I've been kind of, I haven't been playing video, so I didn't see what you were up to. So that's what you've been up to. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's been a good time, man. Like I said, I mean, I'm still very early into both Jak 2 and Kingdom Hearts in a, relatively speaking, because there's just so much to do in those games. But I'll say this. I think going from Jak and Daxter to Jak 2, you can see how big of a jump. I think that's kind of like where when I play the game, where my head's at, or at least when I started it up, I was like, dude, this is, and also because I'm playing it in succession, I'm not playing the game and then waiting like I jumped from Jak to Jak and Daxter, or Jak and Daxter to Jak 2. And it's insane, man. Like just thinking that like a game within like 2 years, 3 years was able to make that big of a jump, like create such a different environment, but really still just can carry the series. It's cool, man.
Well, you know what? I figure I might as well touch on this now since we're talking about it, that aspect, and we're talking about that developer. So The Last of Us 2, I think it was last week, maybe it was a little earlier, maybe it was a little longer than a week ago. They released, I think, like 25 minutes of gameplay, where they released like a 25-minute video. Some of it was unseen gameplay. Some of it was gameplay we saw, but it's kind of like the game designer going over the game and talking about it. I don't know if you saw any of that.
No, but, I didn't hear about that. No.
I gotta say, so we've talked about the controversies and the leaks and the different things like that. And, there's a lot of people that cancel pre-orders and aren't even going to get the game because they're upset. And I was kind of where I felt was kind of like I'm in between. Like, I think I'm probably still going to get it, even though I'm not happy about some of the things that I've heard about in these leaks. And I mean, some of these things are kind of confirmed. So it's not even like it's a rumor. I mean, some of these things you literally know. But still, after watching that video, it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, no, like again, tying into Naughty Dog. So look, you see Naughty Dog. They're the ones who made Jak and Daxter, so they made Jak 2, which is pretty different from everything I can tell. Very different. I mean, it's got some of the same platforming aspects, but it's a very different game.
It's like
Last
GTA.
of Us,
It's like GTA
kind of,
or
yeah,
Jak and Daxter.
like an open world hover.
You steal cars, you
and
can
hover
kill people.
cars.
It's pretty intense. Yeah.
Yeah, GTA for kids is what I've heard a lot of the time. That's kind of what it was. But these developers, they got that pedigree, and like for a lot of people, I think whether it's Uncharted, whether it's Jak and Daxter, whether it's The Last of Us. I mean, they got a good pedigree. People are pretty impressed with them. And if you look like Last of Us, I don't even want to get into what year it came out because I don't remember, but it's been a while since The Last of Us came out. I mean, maybe 8 years, something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's a little less, but I mean, if you're looking, the time period between the two games is a big one. Obviously, they made a lot of Uncharted games and stuff in between, but it's kind of interesting after watching that video where it definitely looks like it's Last of Us, like it looks like kind of the game that we know, but it definitely looks like they've made a lot of different changes too. It seems like there's kind of more open world elements, which we're seeing in a lot of games. Like, I'm not going to pretend like that's some revolutionary thing. I think a lot of games, as you see sequels come out, they add kind of open world elements. But based on that video, there are and I'm not even going to say that I think it's a good thing or a bad thing, because sometimes I think you can go a little too far. Like Gears of War 5, I think went a little bit too much with the kind of open world areas where you kind of lose that linear story progression that you might want, because you kind of feel like, okay, where do I go? Oh, is this a side quest area or is this a main area? Like, and I feel like they kind of lost me in that game. Like, I didn't really like the way they did it. This game, I don't know. Like, it looks like it's going to be similar in that aspect, in that it's not like the whole game is an open world game. It's not Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto, but there's definitely going to be areas that are kind of open, and you can kind of
more explorable.
And you can kind of decide how you're going to tackle them. Like in one segment, they show her riding a horse. In one segment, they show her sneaking around enemies and avoiding them instead of fighting them. And in another area, they show her, now you have humans and you have the infected in a small vicinity, and she throws something to make noise to draw the infected over to those other humans. So now they're fighting each other. And again, I'm not going to say these are revolutionary things in terms of we've never seen these in other games. We have, but it does look like it's a good evolution. It does look like there are some cool upgrades. One segment, they're showing her in kind of like, it looks like a boat, a little boat where you're going around the water. So it does look like there's going to be a good variety of how do you want to play this? Do you want to play this kind of balls to the wall, or do you want to play really stealth? Or even, because it does look like they are allowing this, that you can almost kind of sneak around enemies and avoid enemies, and maybe that's how you want to play it. Maybe I don't want to get into these hairy battles.
I like that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I would recommend watch it, because I don't think you played the first one, right?
No, I never played anything. No.
So for you, man, I would say, when's this game come out? I think it comes out next month. Dude, maybe that's a game you should play. You play through that first one. I mean, that's one of my favorite games of all time. This new one, again, I mean, there are definitely things I'm hearing about it I don't like. But I feel like after watching that video, even with all the things that I don't like that the game is doing, you look at it and you're just like, this is kind of moving gaming forward. Like, this is like gaming on the next level. And that's one of the things about Last of Us, that it's not about fun. It's not like a fun game. Like, it's an experience, like horror movies. Like, when you go to see a horror movie, it's not fun. It's an experience. Like, it's a thriller. You're getting suspenseful, and then you're getting scared. Like, I don't think most people would describe it as fun. So I would say with Last of Us, it's kind of like, it's not fun in terms of the factor that, like a fun factor you would get from like a sports game or something maybe, but it's an experience, and that's what it looks like. It looks like a freaking roller coaster. It looks like an experience that you're going to go through. And I don't know, man, it's going to be tough for me to not play it, honestly. I think it just looks so good. It looks like they have so much attention to detail, and as much as I hate what they're doing with the story, and some of the things that I don't like that they're doing, it still looks like something that's going to be kind of amazing. So I just wanted to touch on that because we were talking about Naughty Dog.
So let me ask you this. I mean, I didn't know. I never played the first one, obviously. did you not have that kind of optionality in the first one versus now? Like, what was every engagement more or less the same? Like, you would just
No, there was definitely you. So here's the thing: it's kind of like you're in this post-apocalyptic kind of like, let's say, Walking Dead-esque kind of world.
okay,
So ammo's limited, resources are limited, everything's kind of limited. So you're kind of scavenging, picking up resources. Maybe you get lucky, find some bullets, but you can't really play it like a running gunning game.
mm,
A heavy melee game, like say you have a baseball bat, you're only going to get a certain amount of swings out of that before it breaks, and that's kind of how this first game worked.
okay,
And I do definitely think that's mostly how this second game is going to work, but it looks like they did add a little more options of like, maybe I can kind of just avoid stuff entirely, or now I pit these enemies against each other, or it does look like the melee combat is a lot more evolved. Like there's countering and dodging, and depending on the kind of enemy that you're fighting, you're going to react to them differently. So that was one of the things that they did touch on. But in the first one, yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's linear. You kind of can tackle things differently, but you're limited because you don't have a lot of ammo. So it's not like you're going to play it like a balls to the wall, like Rambo. You can't play it that way. It's kind of got to be either you're going to use up
kind of thing.
Yeah, you're either going to use up that ammo really quick and then use your melee or use Molotov cocktails, or you're going to play very stealth. It's kind of a stealth game in some ways, which is cool too. Because look, we talked about Splinter Cell in one of our other episodes, and it's like you don't have a lot of stealth games out anymore. And for me, I know how I'm going to play that game. I'm going to play most of the encounters. I'm definitely going to go out of my way to play them stealthily. I'm probably not going to avoid fights, but I am going to try to figure out how I want to tackle them. Because I'm the type of guy where I'm like, I want to take everybody out and get as much resources as I can. Ammo, health, maybe weapons for making bombs. So, not weapons, but parts for making bombs. So I'm going to definitely, like, my play style is going to be stealth, but I'm not going to really avoid fights. I'm going to figure out how I can attack them stealthily. But it definitely looks cool. The graphics look mind-blowing. I mean, you're looking at it and it kind of looks like a movie, and that's something I think Naughty Dog's been good at for a long time, but it's just that next step above,
That was loud.
Oh, yeah. Not too bad, though.
That was the next step above, was my ringtone.
So what was it? I feel like we were going to talk, you were going to talk about something else, too. I can't remember what it was.
Maybe Minecraft Dungeons, but I was gonna say before we get into that, one thing I wanted to touch on a little bit was the leak that they just put out for Pokemon. So Pokemon had 2 DLCs that they were gonna put out. One was for, I think it was for June, and I think that's the one coming out soon. Maybe it's in July. I don't know if I got the late or not, but I know that they had that one planned, and then they also had another one planned for the fall. And they just released some pretty groundbreaking additions to the game. So included with all the Pokemon that are coming back into the game, because prior to this, they had only allowed however many Pokemon, and then then they made an update, and then you were able to bring up some of your other Pokemon, but not every Pokemon's valid. Kind of complex, but more or less they're enabling more Pokemon to come back into the game, which would really open it up for a lot of people. They're introducing, multi-battles. So
wait, just so I understand, typically when a mainline series Pokemon game comes out, it has all of the Pokemon, right? So these new ones that came out didn't, and people got pissed about that, right?
Well, so
is that what you're talking about? They're adding more in?
Yeah. So, what they did is they made it where, like in Generation 6 and 7, you had access to all of the Pokemon, essentially. I mean, maybe not right off the bat, but you were able to bring them in. Like, it was no problem. There was a cutoff at Generation 5.
That's what it was. You could carry over your Pokemon from every game.
Yes, but here's the thing.
Because I remember my buddy Graham was ranting about it. We got to have him on the podcast maybe, and you and him and Sanjay could talk about it, because he was very mad about it.
Well, okay, so I'll put it to you like this. They pretty much, what they did is in Generation 5, so it's coming out of Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, they made a cutoff. So they had this website up, and it was called like Pokégen or Pokegenerator or something like that. Anyways, pretty much you could create Pokemon. I mean, within their limitations, but you could create the perfect version of whatever Pokemon you wanted, and then you would be able to just send it to the game. So they were aware of this, and in order to stop it, what they did was they created a cutoff. So any Pokemon that you had, maybe that was Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, even if you had moved them up and they were legitimate, there was no way for them to legitimize those Pokemon. So they pretty much made it that any Pokemon prior to Gen 6 was no longer valid, online at least. Like online play, they were no good. They would get X'd
so
out.
that, I'll be honest, I'm very ignorant with Pokemon. I haven't really been playing Pokemon games in years. But I know he was upset about it. So, that clarifies it, because he never explained to me why they made that decision. He kind of made it sound like they just did it to be dicks, whereas you're kind of giving me an actual reason as to why they did that.
No, they wanted it to be, appropriate. They wanted it to be like if you earn the Pokemon, you had the Pokemon. But here's where it gets kind of fuzzy. So now in Generation 6 and 7, everybody from Generation 6 going into Generation 7 was valid. Good to go. Now, I'm not sure the exact details of it, but pause real quick. I'm getting another fucking phone call. Sorry. Hello? All right, dope. Thank you, man. Peace, man.
Sorry, they got the Wi-Fi back?
Yeah, I don't know, came back on, I guess.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, dude.
Yeah, anyways, but, so I was going with the generation. So, so Generation 6 to 7, everything was good. But then when they made this last Pokemon game, that was Generation 8. That was Pokemon Sword and Shield. That's the one that came out for the Switch. They made Pokemon Home. So, yes, you could essentially transfer the Pokemon that you had in Gen 6, Gen 7, all the valid Pokemon, into this app, which you could have on your phone or whatever, and you could send it over to your game. But here's where it gets weird, is that they made it so that now all these Pokemon from Gen 6 and Gen 7 were no longer valid online. So, and for that, I actually don't have any reasoning behind it. I don't have an explanation for why they would have done that.
That's probably what he's pissed about then.
There's no generator. There's no online capable. I mean, I'm sure there are people that hack, yeah, for sure, but it's not readily available to all people. It's just something that probably, like programmers know how to do, but not the average person. So it wasn't this.
So are these updates doing anything about that, or totally unrelated?
So here's the thing. I was talking to Sanjay about it. He had said that based on what was coming out in terms of the leaks and things that he had heard and seen, he was saying that he felt as though because of the direction that they're moving in, that they might actually make those Pokemon viable again. And the reason why he says that is because they're not only bringing back a lot of these older high-tier meta kind of characters. Wow, you really lit up, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to do something. My lighting in here is so bad. I keep talking about doing something about it, and I will, but money's tight, so.
Okay. All right. Well, it's fine. But you really, you like popped up on the screen. Yeah, man.
It's like, dang, you look really pale right now, Rob.
But yeah, so it was fucked up, man. Because for me too, I've been following the Pokemon series my entire life. I've had every single game that they've put out, like not the offline games like the Pokemon Rangers,
Pikachu or whatever.
I mean, that wasn't. I mean, no, I actually got Let's Go. All of like the main console games that followed the same trajectory, where you're the character, you're in an RPG, you battle with your Pokemon. It's a turn-by-turn based RPG. I played all of those.
So you played the Eevee and the Pikachu one, or one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was that not really repetitive? Like, I mean, I know they're all repetitive, but that was the first Pokemon game I played in years. And I had the Pikachu one, not the Eevee one. And dude, like, I thought it felt like I would run into the same three people over and over and over and over and over. And then I just, like, after 10 hours, I stopped playing it.
Okay. I'll say this about it. I think they did a bad job at redesigning what was already there in terms of certain mechanics. in terms of the aesthetic, it was amazing.
That's true.
It had a very it perfectly executed what you could have imagined as a child.
Well, also the 150, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't there an emphasis on the 150, or was it more than 150?
It was because that was the thing. It was supposed to be like this reboot,
a nod to kind of my generation. Because, dude, I'll be honest, I'm one of those new Pokemon guys. I watched the TV show when I was a kid, collected cards, got the toys, saw the movies, and then after they went into the 300 Pokemons and plus, I kind of gave I was out of it, and I didn't play the games or anything anymore. So when Let's Go. Is it called Let's Go Pikachu? Whatever the Pikachu Eevee one is.
Pikachu, yep.
With that emphasis on the 150, that's what made me bite. I was like, okay, dude, I'm that old school new Pokemon fan who not even noob because I'm playing I'm playing the older stuff, but noob in terms of I'm not a Pokemon guy, following it for years, and I'm not a hardcore Pokemon fan. I'm a casual, but I am an old fan. I'm a fan from the mid 90s or the late 90s. And I thought that whole 150 thing, to me, I loved it. I thought it was geared towards me, but it just was so repetitive. It kind of lost me. And maybe I was unfair with it. Maybe I'll actually go back to that game because I don't have a ton of games on my Switch, but that was one that was nice to kind of sit on the couch and play casually. But I probably should have liked that more than I did, but it was so repetitive.
Well, so I'll say this. I feel like what they tried to do with that game that I didn't really agree with was that they tried to incorporate the features of Pokemon Go, which is why it's called Let's Go, and the features of the mainline game.
So what features of Pokemon Go?
Well, that you weren't actually battling the Pokemon with your Pokemon. If you ran into a wild one, it would be like Let's Go, or Pokemon Go, where you just throw the Pokeballs. It was about the timing of it and shit. And they'd move around, and you had to track them. So the catching and the wild encounter aspect was completely stripped of the game, which was obviously something that the game prides itself on. It's a huge dynamic that they just took away, which for me was a killer. But I didn't mind it because I felt like I want to see the company do well, and if this is what they feel like will, bridge that gap in the best way possible, then sure, I'm for it. And it's a reboot of a my favorite generation. So
did you beat it? How deep did you get in that game?
In Let's Go, I actually didn't get that far. So Let's Go, I was kind of in the same boat.
Happened to me.
Not because I was, but I'll say this, not because I was turned away. It was because I had a lot of other games that I really wanted to get into. I had Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, which Sanjay lent to me. And so there was these other things more prudent on my list, things that I really just needed to do. So for whatever reason, that kind of fell to the wayside, and it's fine. But I think if we're discussing more of the look of the game and what it had to offer, it didn't really offer much other than just the relived experience of something that had already happened, and it was repetitive.
And after 10 hours, it kind of wore off for me. I honestly, I probably should have given it more time, and maybe I will. It's not like I'll never play it again, but it kind of lost me. But
but here's the thing, right? So, but hear me out. In Pokemon, they've done certain things amazing, and they followed good trends that don't really get old. They don't get stagnant. It doesn't feel stale. It's they can keep doing it and recycling it, and it'll feel great every time. Same way Call of Duty does it. They come out with different, settings and scenarios and characters and guns, but it's more or less, it's the same thing. There might be different mechanics, but it's still Call of Duty. It's still whatever. So they followed a winning formula in a lot of the right ways, but I will say that they've repeated certain things that I don't agree with. So when we're talking about Kanto was, I think if you grew up with it and you were able to play that, and that's what got you introduced to Pokemon, because there's a lot of huge hardcore Pokemon fans that, got into it at Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5 even,
It's still viable. Pokemon is still a thing. I remember arguing with my uncle when I was probably 10 years old, and he's like, dude, you don't realize. You're too young to realize. You're 10 years old. Pokemon's a fad. There's things called fads, and they happen, and I argued to death with him. Now, he's definitely right in his argument that there are fads, but Pokemon is not a fad, man. Pokemon is almost like it's not Disney level, but it's almost like I feel like Pokemon's going to stay alive forever unless they totally mess it up. But I mean, new generations of new kids are into Pokemon. It's stayed alive somehow. They've been able to keep it alive, man.
Well, it's also like a more I think family friendly approach to a lot of. I mean, and that, Nintendo's always done a good job at that. We've talked about that for hours about how Nintendo really bases themselves on the idea that anybody can jump in and play, and that's a huge selling point for them.
Yeah.
But they've done that especially well with Pokemon because there's the Pokemon fans that have been around forever, and then there's the new generation people that are just appealed to it because, hey, it's just cool and it makes sense, and they keep just upping the ante a little bit enough to, keep people in that cycle. But what I was getting at, I kind of let off. But
I think I interrupted you. That's probably the reason. But
so Kanto was, if you had played it from that point and you'd played through and you followed the generations, Kanto was the most, I think, fulfilling generation of Pokemon. Now that's my opinion. That's what it is. I mean, you could totally disagree.
So
with me.
for a Pokemon, not noob because I've been there from the beginning, but a casual, I will definitely put myself in the casual fan base for Pokemon. What is Kanto? That's like the original 150, or is that
Kanto's the original, like red, yellow, and blue.
Okay,
that was like the original.
So that's me then. I'm a Kanto guy.
Yeah, and that's
actually I played Silver for Game Boy Color. I did play Silver.
Okay, but fortunately for you, I do really like you. But there's a lot of Kanto fanboy people that just suck because they never bothered to play anything else. No.
That's me.
No, not really.
No, but legitimately, that is me. I gave up after the 150, and that's probably.
You played Silver.
I did play Silver,
which is an additional 97 or 99, if I'm not mistaken. And then on top of that, you were able to play Let's Go. So you've at least been.
Yeah, but dude, think about the gap between Silver and. Dude, think about the gap between Silver and.
I'm saying people that met the cutoff of Yellow. They were like, I played Yellow. I know everything about Pokemon and whatever. And that's not you. You're not even placing yourself there. I'm talking about people that.
No, I get your point. I'm just trying to say that I'm not a good Pokemon fan.
That's okay.
I'm not like a loyal, fair Pokemon fan.
No.
I'm kind of like,
Well, but okay. So I'll say this. In terms of that Kanto thing, like it's that Kanto has been so regurgitated. So they came out. I'll explain it like this.
Explain it to me because I don't know and I would like to know.
So they come out with
But summarize it.
I will do it. They come out with red and blue, right? And then they come out with yellow. Yellow actually preceded those two. And yellow was the one where you actually had Pikachu with you. He'd follow you. That was called Partner Pokemon. And that was actually a feature that they reintroduced later on in the series when they made the installment of Heart of Gold and Soul of Silver, which were remakes of Generation 2, Silver, Gold, and Crystal. Anyways.
What was there? There was, when Silver came out, what else was there? Was there Sapphire? Or is that GBA? GBA.
Sapphire, Ruby, and Emerald came out after. That was the third generation of Pokemon.
So Silver was the last Game Boy Color game? Or was there one that was...
No.
So that's definitely the last one I played. Okay.
Unless you're talking about like Pikachu Pinball, but yeah, no, that was like the last real game.
Remember that weird that Pikachu like step counter yellow, like it was a proprietary game that like it was like a Tamagotchi almost, but it was a Pikachu thing. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I don't remember what that was. Somewhere around probably yellow, right? Or right before Silver.
That was around Yellow's time. That was around Yellow's time. So it was like a late 90s. Anyway, I keep going off. Let me stick to this point. Kanto.
I'll stop interrupting.
No, Kanto comes out. No. You don't have to because I'm going to get through this. Kanto comes out and whatever, it's there. And then Silver comes out and Gold and Crystal. And then you beat Johto. So Johto is the second region. That's the region you're in when you're playing, Silver, Gold, and Crystal. And you go through that whole thing. And then the end game, the post game, you go to the Sevii Islands and you get to revisit Kanto, and you can go through the entire Kanto experience kind of, but the only thing is there's no it's kind of ghost towny. It's just it's like you go and you can talk to NPCs, but there's no story. It's just like you go in and you can verse Brock and Misty.
It's
and all
like filler.
Yeah, it's just like you redoing the Kanto experience without the actual experience. And then here's another thing. Then you get to GBA, and right after the time that they make Sapphire, Ruby, and Emerald, they make Leaf Green and Fire Red. So those preceded those games. But here's why it's so fucked, because you have now Kanto, the original red, blue, yellow, and then green if you're considering Japan. But you have all four of those.
Japan had a green?
Yeah. That was in the original lineup for that.
I never even heard about that.
Yeah, so then they have all these games come out, and that's all Kanto. And then you come out with Silver, Crystal, and Gold, and those all have Kanto elements because you go back to Kanto, right? Mm-hmm. And then they come out with Red, Leaf Green, and Fire Red, and it's Kanto again. It's Kanto literally redone. Or I'm sorry, no, in Leaf Green and Fire Red, you go to the Sevii Islands. In the original Gold, Crystal, and Silver, you don't go to the Sevii Islands. You go to or maybe no, you don't. You go back to Kanto. That's like the second part. That's after the storyline. And by the way, that was probably one of the most abysmal storylines of all time. I'm just calling it out for what it is.
Dude, here's what we got to do this. So we need a Pokemon episode, and we're gonna get Sanj, and I hope I can get my buddy Graham. And I just want to listen. That one. I'm not gonna be probably talking very much besides interrupting. But I want to sit back and listen to you guys talk about it because.
Well, okay, so I'll say Sanj is probably the most knowledgeable Pokemon person I know of. I mean, even like he could go toe to toe with like YouTubers that study Pokemon.
See, I feel like Graham is at that level. I don't know though. Maybe we'll find out if he agrees to do the podcast with us.
I'd be interested.
I'm gonna dude. After this podcast is over, I'm gonna podcast video, whatever we're gonna call it. It's not really a podcast because we don't have a podcast yet. But I'm going to call him up and see if we can set that up. That would be fun.
Well, so where were we at? We're at Fire Red, Leaf Green, right? So they redo that. Then they make Heart of Gold and Soul Silver, which are remakes of Gen 2. Because they're remaking Gen 2, you go back to Kanto again. It's the fourth time. Yeah. And then they made Let's Go. So that's the fifth time you go back to Kanto.
Dude, isn't that what Star Wars has done with like Tatooine?
Yeah,
I feel like all of these franchises do stuff like that, where they just keep going back to the original because they kind of want to satisfy them and not lose them completely.
I mean, it's good, catering, but I don't think as like a real fan who's looking for new experiences, who was part of the whole thing to begin with because it was a new experience, I think that loses me a little bit. I don't mind it because Kanto is still my favorite. I'm just talking about like.
But they're kind of beating a dead horse.
Yeah, but here's another thing. So I'm gonna keep this short and sweet because I don't want to jar on about Pokemon for too long. I know we have other things we should talk about, but I will say this with Kanto, because it's their first generation and they know that's their biggest selling point. They've done so much to show it love, whether that was the reboots, whether that was the games like Gold and Silver, and then those reboots where you went back. Even now, dude, in Gen 7, Gen 8, they made forms. They were called forms. So depending on the region, it was called the Galarian form or the Alolan form. And then they took Kanto Pokemon, retyped them, reimagined them, and then put them in the game. So it was like Eradicate, but instead of Eradicate being normal type, it was normal and dark, and it had like a different look to it. And it was like, but it was a lot of that same mojo. It was a lot of that winning formula that they had in a way in the beginning. They were just trying to push on a newer generation to keep things relevant and not keep such a apartheid between the two. Like the newer and old. So I mean, it's not a bad thing, but I think moving forward, they're going to have to, I know we were originally talking about the leaks and stuff. I think they have to really base themselves on trying to, if they're really trying to bridge the gap, make it where all your Pokemon are viable. Stop making cutoffs for the Pokemon. It kills fans like me where, I work really hard to get these Pokemon shiny and EV train them and IV train them. I'll say that for another video because I know you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But you do all this stuff to make the Pokemon very complete. And then, come to find out the next generation, you can bring them up, sure, but you can't really use them. They're not, if you go online and you want to verse people.
It defeats the purpose, right? I mean,
it's like, okay. let this be the last point of Pokemon before we go into it. And I'll touch back on this. I will say this next time when we do this Pokemon video, whenever that is, I will touch back on this. But I will say the biggest part of Pokemon for me growing up that really absorbed me into that game was the familiarity and the rapport that you built with these Pokemon. As silly as it might sound, and I'm sure it's not the case for everybody, but a lot of people felt connected to the Pokemon that they caught. You caught that you caught that Dratini in the Safari Zone, and you trained it really hard, and that was like your go-to Dragonite. You didn't care, whatever.
And like it's a lower level, but I can still like use it, and it gets me out of a bind in some way. Like it was able to do something that I didn't expect it to do.
You remember those experiences. Yeah. It's like a memory thing, and you can relate that to the Pokemon, and the Pokemon carries weight to it. And so you feel compelled to actually bring those Pokemon with you into the newer journeys and still have them. Yeah. But what's the point of doing that if they're like no good?
Wasn't that the whole point of Pokemon? Yes, I gotta catch them all. That was the point from the beginning. I mean, and take the games out of it. When everybody was into Pokemon, when it first started, it was about the TV show and the cards, the physical cards. Yep. And then the game complemented that. But that's what kind of was plastered into your skull from the time you were little. You want to get them all. So let me bring my fucking Pokemon with me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's literally why me, I'm so turned off right now from Pokemon. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that they rectify that. Now that they're talking about the deal.
So with these updates, is that something that may address what you're talking about or not really?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's suspicion that is going to be the case, that they're going to.
And when are these updates coming out?
So I think I want to say July for the first one, and then the second one's probably going to be winter, probably late fall. But it's coming, and hopefully, it yields good things. But we'll see.
Dude, hey, I mean, maybe you don't like Pokemon, you're not going to be interested, but at some point we need to do a Pokemon episode. Sorry, fan base, if you're not into it. But even me as a casual fan, because I'm not super into it, I want to learn about it. I think it's fun, man. And it'll be cool to hear these guys talk about it because they love it. And they're really hardcore with it. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Well, okay, let me move us into this next thing. I know you haven't been playing.
How many beers have you had, Troy?
I'm
on my third.
Whoa. Okay, technically this is still my third. I'm still drinking this. I'm trying to take it slow. I don't, I don't want to get too wacky. Wacky is not good for me.
I hear you. Yo, check this out. Unrelated to what I'm not drinking this tonight, but my girl is super into wine. So I'll have wine because she likes wine. So I'll hang out with her sister and her mom and we'll have some wine. So I was she was buying some wine today and I was like, let me find something that's not a lot of money. I like red wine over a white wine or something like that. Yeah, so I was like, you know what? This is $11. Why not get it? So I ended up getting this. It's called Prayers of Sinners. It's cool. Made in Washington State. It's from 2017. This was only $11. I have not tried it yet, but I will let everybody know how it tastes. But $11, and hey, I don't only drink beer. Sometimes I'll have wine. Sometimes
we get a little bit more delicate, a little bit more fragile, if you might say. Man. But well, okay. So, what was I saying? Oh,
I think you're segueing.
We were on our segue. We were talking about Minecraft, or I was going to talk about Minecraft because I was going to say you haven't been playing a lot. I know that you were saying over the past weekend, everything going on is just whatever. It didn't make sense. So that we had touched on it, right? Now you've had a little bit more time to play. I mean, I might have played one or two more missions after that podcast that we had made.
Dude, I have not played it since that episode. Since we talked about it last, I have not had a chance to play it. Jack sent me a message late one night, and he was like, "You want to play?" And I was like, "Dude, let's play tomorrow," because I'm too tired. And then the way everything has happened, I haven't been able to even play it again.
Well, so okay, but what I was more or less driving at, would you say that coming back now, you have more of an opportunity now, whatever, is that the game you're looking to stream? Is there something you'd rather be doing?
That's the game I'm looking to stream, and I'm reluctant. The only reason I'm not playing it more is because I have no one to play with. So my buddy Graham He's been playing it on the PC, and there's no crossplay yet, which sucks. My brother is just like, I can't convince him to play it. I think if he plays it, he'll enjoy it. My girlfriend is like super on like a League of Legends and like WoW. She's just playing those two games. So like I got nobody, like I got you. Jack works nights now, so I haven't really been able to play with him because he's not on during the week.
He's back to normal schedule.
Oh, he is. Oh, yeah. So who knows? Maybe I'll play with him tonight, or maybe me and you will play. But that I will say that is the game I want to play the most. I haven't been playing it. What I was playing last week, because I didn't have a chance to play Minecraft again, is I was playing some more Warzone. And I was having a good time. I still think it's the best battle royale that is out right now. I think between the balancing with weapons and just the way the game plays out, and I just think it's the best one out right now. I'm still having a lot of fun with it.
I mean, I haven't really been playing too much Fortnite or Warzone. Actually, recently, besides Kingdom Hearts, besides Jack, or Jack 2, Paladins included. Actually,
I know you were playing. I saw some clips uploaded. I know you've been playing that.
Well, the Paladins clips I've been posting were things that I had already had up on my YouTube, and I was just like, oh, I'll just take some of the
so I'm a liar then.
You are. I mean, you've always been a liar.
Just a horrible liar.
But no, I was I've actually been playing, like, surprisingly, I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. So I got it.
You have the new one?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, why the heck haven't we been talking? Okay, let's go. Have fun. I'll try my best not to interrupt you. Okay, how's that?
No. I'm not gonna go too off. I just was gonna say I bought it for my girlfriend, as like a random kind of gift. I know she's actually been really heavy into Fortnite ever since she got her Switch. She was just interested to play something, so we had like kind of something we were both vibing with, and we could just play together. That's been a lot of fun. But I knew, she didn't have, besides that and like Mario Kart, I didn't think she really had much else. So I was like, I'll buy it for her. Like, it'll be a nice little gift. It's the kind of game I think she would really like. And so she got it, but then that same day I was like, damn, like maybe I would like it. Like I was like, yeah, she'll like it, but
dude, that's like the game I want to get, and for whatever reason I haven't gotten it. So I'm right there with you.
It's good. I'll say this. I think they make the game. They've designed the game in such a way where it feels very leisure, and you don't feel compelled. Like, you don't feel obligated would be the word, like, to get on every day. Like, you might get on every day, but you might not have to do that much to still be able to make progress in the game, which I like.
Yeah.
I think that it's kind of a good and bad, where I'll say, like, the bad side is that, you feel like you can only complete so much. Like, it's designed to be more slow paced and just more lax. So
it kind of goes by a real time system, right?
Yeah.
So
but
sometimes you literally need to wait.
You have to manipulate. So it's kind of like,
yeah, like some people will go into the settings of their Nintendo and they'll actually change the clock to fast forward stuff.
I did it already.
Yeah.
I had to. I was like, dude, I was like so close to paying off my first, because when you get into the game, you come in and you're on this deserted island, and you start off, and the first thing that you have like two neighbors with you. You have Tom Nook and his nephews, Timmy and Tommy. And they're like three little raccoon fuckers. Anyway, so you're in this, like, you're on this deserted island. You have like little to no resources. So the first point of the game is just kind of compiling resources, getting your like island kind of set. Anyways, so I'd kind of gone through that, and then I had gotten to the point where I forgot what it was. I was like paying off my first loan, because you pay money. You have to like pay money to
Bells, right?
Bells, yep. And he improves the size of your house and all that shit. And that's actually the mainline progression of the game. Is the more you build up your house, the more things become available to you and stuff. The more things open up. Not to say there's not side stuff, but that's like the main thing that really expands the game. So I was at like, I don't know what it was, like 40,000 out of like 48,000. I think it's not like this crazy big number, but I was struggling to get that last chunk of money. So I was like, well, the only way I'll be able to get more stuff to sell is if I reset the date. I need more resources. I need more this. I need more. So I did it.
Like
but
what? Like fruit you're growing or something for money or?
Well, yeah. So the more time that goes by, like weeds will grow out of the ground, which you can pick and sell for money. The fruits, weeds, like weeds in the ground. You
Oh,
sell
that's
like
got to be. I don't even remember that from any of them. Okay, I remember picking weeds, but I don't remember being able to sell them. So at least you can make money on them now. That's good.
yeah. But they've made a lot of cool changes to the game that I'll say. I think even if it's a game designed to be more slow and more leisure like I think they've done a good job at implementing different mechanics, different things to the game that make it possible for you to continuously play and still be striving for something, whether that's the mainline goal of the game and improving your house, or it's just kind of completing things, acquiring new resources and whatever. So you don't have
finding all the insects, right? Like there's that catching insects and donating them to the museum. You could sell them, I think, for money too, but they definitely, they have little things in there that kind of incentivize you to do different things.
Yeah, but so it's been good. It's been cool. I like it. But that's more of a chill game.
How does your girlfriend like it?
She likes it a lot, actually. She's been like really about like every day she'll go on, she'll make sure she like waters the flowers, collects all her resources.
Well, that's the thing, because it's that real time thing, which I guess you could say is kind of annoying sometimes. Like you want to fast forward that clock to get what you need, but I guess that's kind of what they do on purpose. So they do want you to kind of pop in every day, pick the weeds, water plants. And I think for girls, that is something that might interest them. But
yeah, so she's liking it. I mean, I think she's been playing like damn near every day. I mean, I think she might be further along than me. She's kind of fucked up, but
my sister loves it, dude. She plays it a lot. Actually, maybe I should get her and Dina whatever their friend codes or whatever. Maybe they can play, because I know Beth plays a lot.
Dude, no, I'll say like I like what they did with the online and local play capabilities. So you can essentially just visit the other person's island and explore with them, chop trees with them, like affect their environment if you wanted to, if they would allow you to come in. But it's really, I mean, you can't like just take shit unless it's like free, out in the open. But
like, say you're working on this house, you got like your house is decked out, you got some cool stuff in there, you decorated it the way you wanted to. It's cool. You could have people come in and look at it and check it out.
Yeah, no, and that's why I like what they've done with the game. I will say the only thing that I think, like I said, it's a good and bad thing, is that it's slower. It's just not as fast paced as a lot of games. It's not as, it's a slower grind. So, but if you're into that, it's a lot of fun, man.
I agree, man. I think that's kind of the blessing and the curse with that game, is the real time aspect. But I don't know. They'll probably never change that, because it's been that way since the first game. That's kind of part of Animal Crossing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the only thing that maybe would have been a cool feature for them is if they made it where, like, similar to things like, like Oblivion or like Skyrim, where like you could sleep for like 24 hours. And then
fast forward.
Yeah, so it's like it still would follow the same time, but you just.
Why do I got to go into my settings?
Yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at. I'm like, I don't really want to have to manipulate like my Nintendo to like make it where I can actually get more rocks.
I hear that, man. Yeah. I remember doing the same thing back when I think the last one I played was Wild World from the DS. And don't get me wrong, dude, I freaking loved that game so much. But I remember the same exact thing. You were just like, okay, well, I don't want to wait 4 days or 5 days, so I'll just manipulate the clock and get what I need.
Yeah, but no, it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. But between that and like I said, I mean, Kingdom Hearts and Jak 2 been consuming a lot of my time. But I will say, I mean, Minecraft Dungeons has been on my mind. I definitely want to get back into it. I will say I'm probably not going to do it until I get this new monitor in and I can like set everything up and I'm good.
Yeah.
But when that happens, yeah, man, I'm diving in, dude. I'm definitely going in.
Yeah.
You have anything you want to get into before?
You know what? I think that was pretty good, man. Like, I have other stuff I want to talk about. Maybe we'll save it for the next episode. I will say that, like, I would like to do a little more research for Ghost of Tsushima for the PS4 that's coming out. I don't even know if I pronounced that correctly, but That game looks so damn good. I would like to talk about that a little bit, but I think it'd probably be better if we wait for another episode.
Yeah, no, that's all. Yeah, I was just asking because otherwise I think we're good to close out, right?
Yeah, cool. Definitely.
All right. Well, as always, guys, thank you so much if you stuck around this long and you listen to us talk. There's Rob's beer. He's not finished again. You know what's funny, man? You in that last episode, you didn't finish your beer. And
well, I mean, I finished these 2 beers.
That's his excuse for not finishing his beer, by the way. He's like, yeah, but I had other beers.
Okay, so let's just look at it like this. All right, during the course of this podcast, he's had 1 beer. Now, it might be his 3rd for the day, but during the course of the podcast, I'm now on my 3rd beer. And I'm not deep into it, I'll be honest. Most of the beer is left. But what I'm saying is I've drank more than him for the podcast duration, and I deserve some points for that. Shout out to me in the comments. We don't really get many comments, but if we get some, shout out in those comments, man. Team Rob.
Okay, that's gonna be the new theme. If you watch this and you're here with us, fuck this guy. Or I don't know, is it gonna come up? You might be on this side. When I make the video, you might be on this side, but either way, fuck you.
I think it's the same side, isn't it?
No, man, no, it's switched around. You're getting away from it. I hate you, and now we're reversing each other. And if you're on Team Rob, you let us know in the comments. If you're on Team Troy, you let us know in the comments. Either way, you know what the winning side is. Maybe you want to be a part of that, whatever. But if you really want to be on the winning side, hit that sub button. Said it in the beginning of the video. I'm going to say it again. We have a ton more stuff to talk about. Anything in the world, it's probably going to come up, and we're going to be here to chat about it. A lot of less high tense kind of things. Like I said, we want to kind of just keep this chill zone. But thank you, and join the journey, guys. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. What that guy just said, definitely that.
Double fingers up, fucker. I'll catch you.
That's the thumbnail. It's just us giving each other the middle finger.
We're gonna say our goodbyes, Rob.
Let's do it.
I'll see y'all in the next one. He'll see y'all in the next one.
Bada boopy.